Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Neil Parekh. Neil is the founder and CEO of MaidThis franchise. It's a new franchise concept that encourages operators to run their business fully remotely anywhere in the world. I'm excited to hear all about it. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So to get started, can you give us an idea of your journey from 18 years old, or you can go back sooner, it's up to you, but you graduate high school and what happens next?
Yeah, so I graduated high school and I went to UC San Diego, right? So I'm from Los Angeles, Southern California. I went to school down in San Diego, and during college, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted something in business. The closest thing to business in San Diego is economics. I did economics and psychology. After that, I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I actually want to do for my job now that I'm about to graduate? Started a bunch of cold calling, cold emailing and stuff, and ended up getting in touch with a private equity shop. And I didn't realize that normally people have to go to investment banking and stuff before going to private equity. And luckily, one of the people I was contacting was looking for someone who could do cold emails and cold sales. And since I literally tried to pitch myself over a phone call with them, they're like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's doing with cold sales. So I joined a private equity group. So that was in 2011 is when I started working for the private equity group called Kane Anderson in Los Angeles. And we're doing check sizes of $10 to $20 million in growing SaaS companies. So it's tech focused.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long do you do that? And what was your role? It was lead gen, it was sales, client outreach, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I was there for about 4 years. I started as associate, went to senior associate. Pretty much what that means is I find the deals, and then once we actually work on the actual deal, meaning closing it, I do the whole diligence process as well, which is a 3-month diligence process. So I find a company and say, hey, this is a great company. I actually really, really like this. Here's why. Then we're like, okay, let's make an offer. We're going to do term sheet, right? We're going to invest $10 million, 20%, and here's the terms of it. So I get involved in that process. And then the actual diligence saying, cool, we signed the term sheet, agreed on the valuation, right? Similar to what we do in small business, exact same thing with tech companies. And then you do a process of evaluating the company, making sure it's worthy, present it to investment committee and doing that. So that was my focus. So I think personally invested about $20 million from companies I found and worked on deals worth about $100 million while I was there for 4 years.
Okay. And so I guess you're a details guy. You're doing this due diligence.
It's funny, kind of I remember I was talking to my boss at the time and it was in finance, and he's like, dude, you're not a finance guy. And I was like, I know I'm not, because I'm pretty type E actually. I'm not very much of a type A personality, but there was things in it which I was good at, which is the people aspect of it. And I enjoyed the back part of doing diligence. But the funny part is all the skills I learned from that, while I was in private equity, the diligence part was one of the least useful, oddly enough. Just random other soft skills that you learn in private equity became much more useful. So funny enough, not exactly a details guy, but somehow made it work long enough. You
did a good job smelling out the bullshit probably, and seeing if something sounded fishy, and then you can let the guys with the numbers dig into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then what happened next? How'd you get on this path to owning a cleaning franchise?
Yeah, well, I was working in private equity and I wanted to leave. I wanted to start a side hustle. I wanted to do my own thing for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to quit and travel. That was a big motivation. Another one, I wanted to help take care of my parents financially. So my parents had video rental stores at the time. Do you remember the old school Blockbusters?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of those, their own private ones, weren't doing that well in the mid 2010s, obviously, since Netflix and all these other types of business models came out, but they still had it. So I wanted to help provide for them and just help pay for the mortgage. That was kind of it. So those are the two motivating factors. I tried a bunch of different things. Whatever would allow me to be remote and do this as a side hustle. And keep in mind, I was working 60, 70-hour weeks, right? This is. So
you're still working private equity, but you're saying, hey, I want additional income, help support my parents. And how old were you then?
24. when I started, I was 24. When I started the side hustle.
Okay.
With a couple years into it. Yeah, so it was about 24.
Okay. Yeah. So then where did that go?
Yeah, I've been trying a bunch of stuff which flopped. E-commerce, drop shipping, like all these different side hustles which are like remote. And then finally I was on Reddit. Do you know Reddit, Brian? Do you ever go on Reddit?
Yeah, I've been on it a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I was on Reddit, and a guy posted how he started a cleaning company. And I thought, you know what, let me try this as well. And it started working. And I realized that's because cleaning and local services is a very old school industry. So if you're bringing a minor bit of tech to it, it really sets you apart from the competition.
Yeah, sure.
So it started to really work. And at the same time, I thought, look, I can't be remote with this. This is a local business. And finally, I had an aha moment where I was looking at the list of tasks I was doing, and I was just in my chair staring at a computer screen. And I realized I could be on the computer screen anywhere. I don't actually have to be here because the cleaners go straight from their home to the job site. There's no reason I actually need to be here. Then I realized, oh wait, I could actually run this local business 100% remotely, and still scale it. So it got to the point where I think 2 years after I launched, we were doing, I think, around 30,000 a month in revenue. Nothing crazy, but enough where I could say, okay, this is actually working. I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah, proof of concept.
Yeah, let me.
Was it local? Like, was it in Los Angeles area or wherever?
Only Los Angeles.
Okay, but you were treating it like a remote business.
Yeah, because I was working full time, right? I had to treat it completely remote. I couldn't like go into the office or go into the yard to like get everyone together. I don't want vehicles and cars, nothing like that.
Yep.
So it was remote from day one. And when I quit my job to go travel and go full time, we were doing around 30,000 a month. I booked a one-way flight to South America, to Colombia, and I started traveling. I was traveling aggressively at the beginning, like pretty fast. And within 1 year of me traveling, the business doubled.
Okay.
Right. And it kind of kept growing every.
You're doing 60K a month. And
now we're doing 60K at the end of 2016. And I was like, oh, wow, I did this, for a local business while traveling full time. Like, it's totally possible. You absolutely can have a side hustle, transition to full time, work remotely. Like, it was kind of a paradigm shift for me. So that leads us to like 2016. So 2017, 2018, 2019, just scaling the business, getting the systems into place. We focused a lot on the Airbnb turnovers. What I realized was happening at the time was people were house hacking, like early days of Airbnb. You lease a place, you sublease an Airbnb, you make the spread. A lot of people were calling us and saying, hey, can you do Airbnb cleanings? And at first I said, no, we don't want to do that. We're residential. Then I realized like, oh, these guys need cleanings 8 times a month for their single home versus a regular home you might need once a month. Yeah, they'll pay a premium. They want to work with people who are professional because it's B2B play. It's no longer a, hey, let me hire my local cleaner who might not show up, right? It's mission critical. So I realized like, oh, this is huge. So we kind of pivoted and focused at least half the business on Airbnb, half on residential. And now we actually have a hookup where we could tie into Airbnb, VRBO, any of these platforms. Anytime one of our clients has a guest checkout, it'll automatically schedule cleaning with us. Cleaners get automatically assigned. They do the checklist, automatically sent over to the host with pictures, information about supplies, damages, things like that. So very, very streamlined for the Airbnb target audience. And that's what we scaled with as well.
So let's break down. So you've got 2 components to the business, I'm assuming right now. You've got a corporate side that you still run, and then you've got the franchising component, correct?
Correct.
So let's first talk about the corporate side of it. So the business that you run, do you have any partners or do you own like 100% of it?
Own 100% of it.
Okay. And so what are you doing now in revenue in that a month?
That one is around 1.2 in revenue.
1.2 a year?
Yep.
Okay. And then of that, how much is like Airbnb turns versus residential?
Yeah. So this one, so it's funny, pre-2019, we were probably around 70%, 75% Airbnb, 25% residential. Now we're probably reversed. We're probably 70% residential, 30% Airbnb. A lot of that has to do with the pandemic, the shift in the market, but also kind of our shift in our focus in Los Angeles. We have other franchise locations which are like 90% Airbnbs. So it really depends on the market and what you're going after.
And you're doing about $100,000 a month. And is that all in Los Angeles, or are you all over the country?
All in Los Angeles.
Just all in Los Angeles. Okay.
For corporate location, yeah.
For corporate. And then what does the business model look like? I mean, you're charging a recurring fee. You have your labor cost. They probably have material cost. Like, are they subcontractors, W-2? Like, walk me through kind of at a level what the business model looks like.
Yeah, sure. So we sell, let's talk about residential or Airbnb, I guess, in this case. But someone could sign up for a monthly, biweekly, or weekly service or a one-time service, right? If it's a move in, move out, they could either call us on the phone or schedule through the online booking form, which is super slick, very easy to book. Once they book the service, we get the the money and everything, and we just match them up with the cleaner. So right now in California, we use independent contractors. Every state could decide if they use employees or contractors, just depends on their state labor laws and what actually works. So we pay out just the cleaners a flat rate per job, right?
Okay.
Which is what's already negotiated with them. And we make the middle, right? So typically in cleaning businesses, you're probably targeting a 50% gross margin is what you're looking for.
Gotcha. So you're collecting $200 from the customer, or the cleaner's getting $100.
Roughly,
right?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, so do you kind of have then this network, because they're not your employees, right? If they're 1099s, this kind of network, and are you kind of putting it out there, or are you kind of like picking the person like who's kind of has that territory? Like how do you choose who gets the job if it's like a, recurring business?
Absolutely. I kind of look at us more as a matchmaker, right? There's traditional cleaning companies who are like, we are the service, this is what we do, like everyone come over here. I kind of look at us as like, we're a recruiting agency first, marketing agency second, and probably like a matchmaker when it comes to scheduling, right? So we'll have a cleaner. Independent worker maybe has her own book of clients, but just an individual cleaner. And we know her skill sets because we've interviewed her. We've gone through the whole process. We actually know her personally. If there's a client who comes up, we know this is going to be a good fit or not a good fit. If it's not a good fit, we'll just swap out and say, hey, here's another cleaner for you, client, if that's what you want. On the Airbnbs as well, typically people want the same cleaners, right? They don't, honestly, they don't care about the service. They just want, hey, who's my cleaner? So if you can match it up properly, regardless if it's a contractor or employee and they're happy, you can keep the engines running.
Okay. And part of it probably, for the cleaners to maximize theirs, it's probably trying to find things in a similar area, right? They're going into my neighborhood. If there's one across the street, it'd be best if they could probably do it the same day, right? Or the same time.
Yeah. Route maximization is definitely a big part of it, right? You want to keep them in it, especially it depends on the territory though. Los Angeles is massive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to LA, like it takes 2 hours to go from one side to the other. So route optimization is huge.
Yeah.
We have a franchisee in Myrtle Beach. Doesn't matter as much. It's a smaller market, right? Cleaners will go everywhere. So route optimization doesn't matter as much.
So then what was I going to ask you? So then on the franchise side, what does that look like? How long have you been franchising first? And then how many do you have?
Yeah, a little bit under 2 years is how long we've been franchising. So we have about 5 franchise locations right now. So scaling that up, and 7 total locations. So the franchisees, we have 2 in Florida. We have 1 franchisee in Ohio, 1 in Colorado, and 1 in South Carolina.
Okay. So then why franchise? So you can operate this thing remotely. You could have locations in Florida and Texas and Georgia and anywhere you want. So like, what capacity are you hitting that franchising is the right route?
Yeah, I was thinking about how to expand this back in 2019 before I decided on franchising. The routes I saw in front of me were 2. One was Starbucks model, self-expansion and corporate expansion. The other one was franchising. Yep. What I realized, if you look at a lot of like the tech players who got into the cleaning space, beautiful interface, everything is great. The customer service and actual service are awful, right? It's hard to scale a local service business nationally. It's very difficult. People think, oh, it's right for disruption. Let me just take it over. It's difficult because you're relying on local labor. So what I realized is the best experience for the customer is if it's more of a local operation, right? Trying to scale nationally from a central headquarters, you probably can accomplish it somewhat, but number one, there's a lot of logistics to manage and a lot of the people. And number 2, it's probably not the best experience for the customer. So instead, if there's someone focused on that local market, it's a much better customer experience plus higher scalability as well in terms of rapid expansion. Yep.
Yeah. And that would be my my biggest concern too, is the quality of the work, and how do you know, it's being done. And I guess you do that digitally, right? Is it through pictures and through video walkthroughs? And like, how does a franchisee, or how do you, whoever it is, ensure the quality is being met if they're remote?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of it has to do with the vetting process, right? A vetting process when you onboard the cleaner. The other part is just ensuring there's proper checkups with the customer as well to nip things in the bud. So because you can't be there in person to just like quality check and go after every single cleaner, more communication is needed. You need to have your customer service very, very dialed in order to ensure you could hit things at the beginning and ensure they're taken care of. And the thing is, look, what you're going up against are cleaning companies who are pretty unsophisticated when it comes to customer service, marketing, anything. These guys, even if they have great quality, they don't check in with customers. Sometimes like they just don't even pick up their phones, right? So doing the extra customer service like a normal company would already put you ahead of the competition regardless of the quality checks.
Yep. Yeah. And then the big thing I know for my wife too, and us is like the trusting the person. You're letting a stranger into your home, and you have kids and valuables and all this stuff. And so we've always kind of gone with people like referral, like we're within a referral network, right? Who in the neighborhood uses somebody and they've trusted. And that's a big thing for her. So I don't know. Have you guys looked at that, or how do you go about trying to establish trust between kind of it's the vetting process, right? But they have to trust you that you did the vetting process, right?
Exactly. And look, everyone's background checked. We do vetting process on them. We have all their information. So we check them, right? We check the cleaners to make sure they're good. But yeah, then you have to earn the customer's trust. And the customer oftentimes trusts us, the agency, that we are doing our job. And that way the cleaner they get is the right match for them. And a lot of that's just doing proper online marketing and establish trust. Right? Like you look at us in Los Angeles, we have the most number of reviews out of any company by far, like double most people. That's social proof. That's trust. And that's something where local businesses, again, typically don't do. But if you could establish a lot of social proof, that eliminates that barrier.
Okay, cool. So in your corporate operation, how many cleaners like actively do you have?
Some full-time, some part-time, some are big teams, some are small teams, but probably about like 20 to, about 20, I'd say.
Okay. And then what is so I want to get into kind of some tips and tricks on operating a remote business, whatever it is.
Sure.
I mean, you're in cleaning, but it could be anything. So like, talk me through some of let's start with like, you're hiring, like, how do you onboard someone? How do you get them to be kind of part of your culture?
Sure. And just to make sure I know, do you mean like remote office staff, or do you mean the cleaners?
Either one. We can talk about both.
Sure. Yeah. So the operations staff, we're across about 7 or 8 different countries right now. So everyone's fully remote. For example, calls come into us from customers. They route to our team in South Africa. South Africa, they have an awesome South African accent. Americans love accents. Very trained in sales as well. So calls route to them. And they pick it up. They deal with customer issues. They deal with sales. We also have a team in Latin America, across a couple of different countries in Latin America. They're the ones in operations. Cleaners, who are often Hispanic, can speak with them and routes to the team in Central America to be able to handle a lot of the cleaner issues, right? So there's a cultural match right there. So that's kind of how it works. We're all like the internal team, we're all on Slack chatting. They're set up with their own phone lines to handle either customers.
Yeah. So what's like the tech stack? Is it Slack? Do you use like project management software? Like what's your tech stack look like?
Central repository for our communication, Slack, 100%. Like we cannot live without Slack. That's where everything goes. That's where internal team is talking. We use Dialpad as the VoIP system. So many times cleaners have issues, or customers have issues, or there's customer sales call, that routes Dialpad. That's what the sales team are going to pick up, or the internal operations team will pick up and work from there. Then of course, just normal G Suite and like a ticketing system on top of that. And then we have like a booking system, which is specific for cleanings. So those are just
that's for like the schedule management side of it.
Exactly. Like bookings come in either online or the phone, they get put in this software system. We match the cleaners from there. Match the pay, charge the cards, things like that.
Yep. Okay. What has been some of your biggest challenges in scaling the business?
I think some of the biggest challenges have to do with, I'll talk about the franchise side. We're a relatively new franchise system right now. Yep. So a lot of the challenges have to do with finding new franchisees, right? Getting enough leads, figuring out who the target market is for this. And it's tough because like I've never been in the franchise world before. So this is just me learning like, okay, how does franchise even work to begin with? And it's kind of a beast in its own. So definitely something to figure out in terms of who the target market is.
Yep. And that's what I've seen with other kind of newer, emerging brands is, you're really good at operating your business, but like running a franchise system is a completely different thing than operating the business, right? They're like, it's a whole nother animal that you have to learn how to do.
That's a completely different business model, right? And what I realized is I went from selling a $200 cleaning service to a very expensive product, which is franchising, right? Like that's a completely different sales cycle, different process. So it was a big learning curve for me.
Yep. So what's it, talk about a little bit the franchise, like what's it cost to get in? What's the franchise fee? What's the royalty? What's all that look like?
Yeah, sure. So the initial buy-in is $35,000. The all-in cost, including the initial franchise fees, between like $50,000 to $60,000. So it's what's called a low-cost franchise. The reason is because it's 100% remote. You don't need to get cars. You don't need an office space. You can start it as a side hustle as well.
Okay. Yep. And what's the additional 15 to 20 grand or whatever? Is that for kind of marketing leads, or like what's the insurance, just all the other working capital, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just random stuff. Most of it, the vast majority is marketing. Marketing for both cleaners as customers, but mostly customers. Yeah, that's almost
And
all
it's all
marketing money.
SEO pretty much. Like,
SEO, paid ads online, quoting engines if needed to get going. There's a process we put everyone through to figure out what works in your market, right? We have like a list of, hey, here's what we know works. Here's the SOPs for every single quoting engine. Run it. We're going to test it, see which works, drop the ones which don't, pick up the ones which do. That requires money to test out what actually works in each given market. So combination of SEO, paid ads, email marketing, social
okay.
media marketing, things like that.
All right. So someone's interested, 50 to 60 grand, kind of, all in to get started. What's the ongoing royalty look like?
6% of revenue is the royalty. On top of that, there's a marketing fee. That's just a group marketing fee, which goes straight to the vendors to handle like SEO and stuff for you. So that's like just a monthly marketing fee. We have a national marketing fund of 2% as well.
Okay, so they're paying 8% of sales, 6 to the royalty to you guys, 2 to the national marketing fund, plus
Correct.
an additional fixed amount per month.
Correct. Yeah, which is just cost through group rates to cover a lot of their marketing.
Okay. And then talk to me how you building the support system, because that's like a lot of the franchise value is you're buying a business in a box, right? So you're getting the brand, you're getting the playbook, you're getting the the connections, the SEO know-hows, right? All this stuff. Because otherwise someone could start their own remote cleaning business, right? The benefit of franchise, it's the speed, right? You could like get started in a month or whatever, versus, you've taken, I don't know, whatever, 8 years to figure all this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
So they're buying speed is what they're buying, but then they also buying support. So they're running into issues. They're not alone. They have a partner in this thing. So like, talk to me about kind of the support system that you're currently providing, and then maybe what like you want it to be.
I love the question. And the way I kind of look at it too is you're either buying a franchise system, hopefully for both, but the brand or the support system, right? And a lot of people, the brand is enough, right? If you go to Orange Theory, that's Orange Theory, right? That's the brand. That's mainly what you're buying. For a lot of home service companies, honestly, in franchising, the brand's a little bit less relevant. It's a very local type of service. The branding is not nearly as needed as much as the support system. So that's the way I kind of view it, is this is a home service business, right? The best thing that's going to set us apart from the other home service businesses, which are not franchise, is the support system we provide. So focusing a lot on that. We do quite a few things in terms of support. Number one is like a shared channel with all the other franchisees, just ongoing support channel that everyone pitches into. Of course, the normal operations manual, which is online, there's videos there. We actually do group training every single week. So it's almost like a mastermind type of style, where just weekly calls with, let's say, 3 franchisees at a time for group coaching. And then they could also schedule one-on-one coaching on top of that as well. On the back end, of course, we're doing a lot of things for marketing for them already, so they don't have to do it. And access to like all the resources, collateral, graphics, everything they actually need to get going.
Yeah. So what's your like avatar in terms of like, who is this business for, and then who is it not for?
Yeah. Brian, I'll be honest, I'm kind of figuring that out right now, right? We have 5 franchisees. I love them. They're awesome. And they mostly came from the background of, I want to escape the rat race. I work a full-time job right now. Within a year, I want to leave, and I want to start something I could do on the side while having my main job, and then eventually transition out of that. So far that's been the avatar, and that's what's been working, is people who want to escape the rat race. Doesn't mean you have to quit immediately. In fact, I actually advocate not. I know a lot of franchisors require you to quit your job. I'd say, look, take your money from your existing job and use it as seed money to fund your franchise and wait for it to grow. So that's one avatar right now.
So that the side hustle, like running potentially in parallel from whatever they're doing. And I know some of this you can't talk about, but how long do you think it would take them to get to a 30K run rate and, at a 40% margin or whatever the net is? Cause they got other fees, obviously, maybe 30% to make it 10 grand a month. Like, yeah. Say what you can. I know it's difficult.
No, I know.
If not, it's okay. I'll
just set me up with a landmine, huh? How about this?
Because people ask you that all the time, I'm sure, right? Like, and that's difficult with a franchise, and you can't predict it. Like, everything is built what you put in is what you get out.
Absolutely. So here's how I would answer it is, I got to 30,000 per month in 2 years. I would want the franchisees to do that faster than me. That's what you're buying. You're buying speed. Yeah. I probably could have sped up what I'm doing by half at least, if I was in a franchise system. So I'd want you to get there in probably half the time. If not, like you could sandbag it and it's going to be the same amount of time. And what you're looking at in this industry is probably like 20 all in, like after the royalties and stuff, around 20% profit margin is kind of what you're looking at on the table wells. What I would say is like your first year, this is a recurring revenue business. Your first year, I always advise people stack your marketing, go above and beyond with marketing, especially if you don't need it. If you have a full-time job, try to get that recurring revenue going, and you could always scale it down later. So the first year is almost artificially low in terms of profit, and then you'd kind of scale up to the point where you're doing $10,000 per month in profit.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, to be honest, it's attractive is like it seems like the overhead is extremely low, right? I mean, if you were the one running it, you don't have like a location, you don't have people like on guaranteed salary payroll, right? If they're 1099s and it's it's set up obviously and it's in the right state and all that stuff, and it's just on demand. I mean, if sales are low, I mean, you're spending money on marketing, but as long as you're getting an ROI on it, like it seems like it's the kind of business that even if it's slow to start, it's not like you could be bleeding money and compared to some other businesses where you got a $15,000 a month rent and like taxes and payroll and all this stuff that you like have to drive sales.
It's low risk, low cost in my mind, right? Like you can really ratchet it up or ratchet it down. And the thing is, we use for like our office staff, we use international labor as well, right? So fully remote model, very, very lean. Your ongoing costs are just like what you're going to be mostly paying with marketing or software and maybe your support staff.
Do they, do you leverage your call center and your other resources to the franchisees, like in South Africa and in Latin America?
So yeah, we don't have a full call center yet, but what we do for every franchisee when they sign up, we will find your first operations hire for you. We'll give you a list of candidates who fit the bill, either through our network or just by recruiting, because we're really, really good at that part.
Yep.
And the thing is, I think there's a better experience for the franchisees if it's not a call center that's like a general franchise call center. I know sometimes people like that. They say, oh, that's great, I don't have to do it. They can never sell your business as much as you can or someone you train can on your team. And the reality is, it's pretty inexpensive to find someone internationally now. I think when a lot of these call centers were set up, it was difficult to do it. So you needed people in a call center to kind of centralize stuff. That's unnecessary now. You could get a really good full-time person who could convert at a very high clip that's to your business.
Or if someone's like got the time, right, they fill out the online lead and the franchise owner might just be giving them a call, right? And trying to close it. At least, I don't know, if it was in the beginning, it was me and you're trying to like stack it, you'd bet on yourself probably a little bit more than you would, someone in the Philippines or South America or wherever they are.
100%, so. At least until you can systemize it. So absolutely.
Cool. So where do you see it going? Like what's the 5-year goal here?
So we have 5 franchise locations, maybe a couple more by the end of the year. Next year, probably grow by, I don't know, probably 12, 10 to 12 is kind of the goal. Honestly, I'm keeping the goals rather modest. Personally, the reason I got into franchising is I actually really love working with the franchisees. Like I'm involved in the support system a lot. I like getting active in what they're doing. And I prefer to keep it relatively small compared to a lot of fast growth franchisors to be able to actually cater to people a little bit more personally. So, I think next year we'll probably be at 20 franchisees and kind of keep growing from there. And we'll see where we actually get to over 5 years. But the main focus for me is just having by far the best support system out of any home service franchise. That's my goal.
Cool. All right. Any questions for me as a franchisee?
Yeah, I'm actually
offline, but happy to add a few.
No, I do. You own I think 30 franchise locations now?
Yep.
What do you look for as a franchisee and a good franchisor?
Yeah, so like you said, training and support are like training, support, and technology. I think are the 2 big ones, at least in our system. So like, in an automotive, like on the training side, there's massive changes coming, right? In technology and EVs and tires and just cars are getting more complicated, right? And so I think what we really want as a franchise group and what the franchisor is working on providing is a more up-to-date modern training platform. And so, sometimes big corporations move a lot slower than you like. And so then for us, I mean, we have the capabilities to do it ourselves. So I'm currently working with my team to create our own training library and training system. So, we're going to just like internally use Kajabi, create training videos on whatever, like welcome to the company history. And then we can go down to like the different processes that we do. And then we supplement that with, one-on-one training. The district manager can come in and observe, right? And then, obviously tracking performance in these different KPIs. So training's a huge part of it. And so like, obviously you want the franchisor to provide as much as you can, but like at the end of the day, I mean, it's my business. I'm going to be successful either way. And so we're going to do it internally if we have to, until they can catch up. That's a big one. And then tech, I think is big too. I mean, coming from a software background, that technology can make someone's job so much easier in terms of the speed that they build tickets, in our business, like repair orders, the speed that just, the seamless customer integration. We're looking at now some, what's called digital vehicle inspection software. So DVI. So basically, instead of like the paper inspection and calling the customer and telling them what they need, the technicians will have, tablets and taking pictures and videos of the cars and circling stuff and texting the customer a link that they can then review it. And then we call them, and it helps with the education, the transparency, and the communication of needs that the car needs. Right.
Yeah.
And they could forward that to whoever they want, and to build trust, because that's a big, obviously, part of our business. And so,
Brian, I'm curious, why did you decide franchising versus doing it yourself? And I'm only asking this because you're saying all these systems you're building out, which is oftentimes what people look for a franchisor to do, but you're doing it yourself. You're like, forget this, I'm just gonna do this myself. So why franchise?
Yes. So I mean, it's kind of just the hand was dealt. Like my dad got in it in the 70s, and he grew the business to with my uncle by buying and starting new ones. They had six, 7, 8. They bought and sold them. So I joined in 2010, and we had 6 locations, and I just learned it and started growing it and having success. And then, through acquisition, we've grown it now to 30. And really the growth we had 12 like 2 years ago. So a lot of the growth has been recent. But yeah, I mean, it's a good question. A lot of it's the speed to scale. I think franchises, big parts plug and play. Like I can buy 7 locations at a time, 5 locations, 4 locations, and literally day one, they're plug and play. Like we use the same software, point of sale. Like the employees are following the same core process. Like for the frontline guys, the only thing that changes on day one is like their payroll is coming, from a different bank into their bank, and then we start, integrating, our tweaks, on how we want the customer experience to be, or we use Slack too, and we use ClickUp, and we have Zoom, meetings, and we have our own. We use technology in that way to help, connect people. And so, so I like the plug and play aspect of it. I like, cause if I had to go out and buy an independent, like, we've looked at independents and stuff, and but they might be a big transmission shop, and I don't do transmission. So I don't even want to pay them for the valuation of it, because it's not my business. Now, like, and then the other guys, like his cousin and his brother, and they don't work on Saturdays, and they don't do this, and they don't wear uniforms. And like, so now I'm coming in and like, I'm changing the software. I'm telling them we're not going to do all these services, that you're going to have to work on Saturdays, and we're changing your pay plan. And like, I probably have to restaff the store. And so, and I could do that, and it might be a great location and make us a lot of money. But like, if every single deal I had to do was like that, like it would take me so much longer than buying an existing one and just like implementing the simple process. Like we need to staff the store. We need to answer the phone. We need to fix the lights. We need to paint the building. Like some things are simple that you can solve and have success with. So,
dude, you nailed it. I mean, I was just thinking, like, if let's say we have a bunch of franchisees, they know if they buy another franchise location, literally same software, same SOPs, same operating manual. Like they get in, they don't need to figure out, like, okay, how does this work and what do I fix? I already know how to run this whole thing from day one. It just makes the speed to get set up and scaling.
That's what you pay for. And I look at the royalty. So might as we pay 5 and 5, 5 of royalty, 5 to add the ad fund. And like, you have to spend money on marketing either way. Right. So then really what you're paying is 5%. And then, so for me, the 5% to be able to, we've opened up new locations and did, 60 grand the first month, 70 grand the next month. Like we're cash flow positive. If I opened up a brand new Beers, Tire and Auto or whatever, like it would take me a while to build the business, just because, we have in MaidThis, the brand matters, right? So it's instant brand recognition, and that is worth it to me to pay the money, and just like not having to worry about marketing and SEO and brand and all this stuff that you probably love. Like, I don't like any of that stuff. So I'd rather have somebody else do it. And, I can focus on execution and like operations, which is answering the phone, get the customer in, check out the car, like present the work, help make it affordable with our payment plans, like get the work done, like that whole process is more my skill set. And I think for a lot of franchisees, if that's what they like, they're ops driven, it's good. If you really like marketing, creating your own brand and creating like, whatever, then I think, an independent business is probably a better route for that type of person. So.
Yeah. Well said. I think it just takes a lot of things off your plate. And again, like you said, speed to scale.
Yep. So, cool. Great. It was great chatting to you. Where can people connect if they're interested in learning more about MaidThis and what they could do?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in MaidThis, go to maidthisfranchise.com, MaidThis franchise.com. I also have a podcast called the Remote Local Podcast where I talk about how to run a local business kind of completely remotely. So feel free to check that out as well. Again, that's the Remote Local Podcast.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story, and, good luck, building this business. Sounds pretty cool.
Appreciate it, Brian. Take care, man.
That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.